Welcome to Stuff's Cup Wrap. Coming in from the starboard side is Duncan Johnson over here on port. I'm Todd Nile, and it looks a little different because it is a little different in Auckland, currently under COVID-19 alert level 3. And one of the changes that has made to life in Auckland is that the America's Cup itself, which was to have started on Saturday, is pushed out 4 days until the following Wednesday, which may change things or may not. So the teams are still sailing, still having time in the boat shed, Duncan. Who do you think gains most from having this little bit of extra time?
Oh, I think probably Rossa coming off the Prada Cup final. They get an extra 4 days. They were down to sort of 2 weeks, really. You know, Team New Zealand are ready to go. There's no doubt about that. They've been waiting 3 years, not a couple of weeks. So I think their planning is right on track. Rossa will take every moment they can. What we need to recognise, of course, was on Monday, 4 o'clock, the boats were locked and loaded in the measurement. So all the major appendages cannot be altered now. You're talking about the mast, the foils, the flaps, everything like that is sort of in now, so they cannot be altered. The teams can train with them, they can get better acquainted with the sails, and quite a bit's been happening with the sails. Todd, you were out there last week chasing the Team New Zealand boat around. What were your impressions there? Yeah, so
we were only out there for about an hour of that time, but there were short bursts and then the sails would come down. It wasn't quite clear whether they were changing them and back up again, so trying out some new things, as Grinder Joe Sullivan told us. As he said, you know, they were sailing one day, back in the boat shed doing things the next, but it probably is a lot of it about, for both teams now, sails, if there's anything that they can do differently, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. You know, it's a bit of a phony war at the moment because it has been pushed out a little bit, but plenty of opinion coming around. Interestingly, Grant Simmer, the CEO of Team UK, suggesting that from what their reconnaissance has been on Team New Zealand, he described them as scary, and if they were the challenger going into the match, they would feel quite intimidated by what is going on with Team New Zealand. So that's a pretty telling statement there. I mean, there's been a lot of whispers, Todd, that Team New Zealand's boat has got some extraordinary speed. So we wait to see whether that unfolds.
Yeah, Team New Zealand not really being drawn into the speed discussion, certainly on the day that we went out with them on the Friday. You know, they're quite happy talking around the 50-knot mark. People are speculating whether it has got to or will get to 60, which would be an extraordinary milestone. But I guess the point they make is there is more to it than just straight line speed for speed's sake. You've got to be able to use it when you need it, and you've got to be able to control it.
Yeah, and Francesco Bruni, the co-helmsman of Rossa, continues to talk up their light air game and their manoeuvrability, where you'd have to admit the Italians have looked super slick through the Prada Cup. I think that was one of the features, the way they got things together there, finding some extra gear through the turns, and they really took Team UK apart on that. Interestingly, the British sort of put in a bit of a protest about the grinding system on Rossa, but never came to anything in the end, Todd.
Yeah, there's a little bit of sort of mind game stuff that goes on. You know, you talk to Grant Simmer. Do you think that they may be talking up Team New Zealand, you know, to rattle their old foes, Rossa, or do you think that was a pretty genuine assessment of how they're looking?
He's been around the game for a long time. He's a Hall of Famer. He was part of that 1983 crew that lifted the cup. I don't think there was anything false. It was just an honest observation, and that could spell danger for the Italians and will certainly boost Kiwi hopes. So plenty to look forward to over the next few days in the lead up. As you say, we're looking at Wednesday, March the 10th at the earliest. Things could change. A lot depends on the government, but I think the Italians are ready to race come what may.
Yep, so Francesco Catani Longanese from the Challenger record told me that, you know, after next Wednesday, they want to go regardless. If Team New Zealand was able to get a government exemption to race under level 3, that they would want to press on with that, which suggests that they're not really trying to buy time. But first we have to wait for Sunday to see what the government decides in terms of level shifts. But certainly level 2 racing is possible, and hopefully things will get going next Wednesday. We'll be having a look at that in our next Stuff Cup Wrap.